name is Tracy, and I'm new to the library, and regulars are like, "Who are you?" And that's totally okay. I have been working with the library since last summer. I was a volunteer at the Kuchera branch while I was working on my master's in library science, and that's how I kind of got connected with Tony a couple of years ago. And the genesis of this project, I needed a homework assignment, and this fit the bill, and he told me this is what he needed, and it's been a 18-month process, and so it's.
Did you get an A?
I did get an A. I got an A. And I sent my professor who taught me how to create databases, I sent her like my database design, because teachers need to know when they make a big difference, so she was glad to get that. So in the spirit of feedback, which is like the whole reason we did this was to formally listen to patrons and community members, like, what do you want to see in the community? What do you want to see in the library? And so we do have this suggestion box, and I think we'll probably put it back near the food, maybe on your way out. And if you think of something tonight that we didn't go over, just write it down, like, hey, I want like black and white darkroom photography classes. Like, tell us that. Okay, we can't make any promises. Tony's like, slow down, Tracy. Okay.
And no air.
Okay. Okay, so we have all the windows and doors that will open that are open, right? So we're trying here. Hopefully with the sun going down, it'll get a little cooler. Okay, so Tony, should we get started?
Please.
Do you want to come up for a second?
Do you want me to?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, thank you everybody. This was Ashley's idea and Tracy's idea to do this sort of open house for our survey, and I was like, who's going to come watch a survey? And so many people have come. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. This library is what it is because of you. Very fundamentally, it was started as a grassroots effort to start a library, and we actually carved ourselves out of the Spanish Peaks Library District. Sorry, Casey. It happened 50 years ago, almost 50 years. Next year is our 50th. And so it was really important community. It started in the jail. We couldn't have the library open when there's somebody in the jail, that sort of stuff, and then migrated up here, and then ended up in the bathtub here for a while. But it's an amazing library. All communities support it. The only reason it works is for you, and we really wanted to know where the community is, because there's been a lot of change in this community in the past 5 years. I mean, these have been an amazing 5 years. A lot of new people in, and so we want to know where the community is, what your kind of general needs and wants are generally, and also how the library can serve you better. So we came up with this big survey that was, again, like all of Tracy's idea. This came from her projects doing a Master's of Library Science, and it turned into a literal job for her. But this is Tracy's sort of like masterpiece here. And she's put together this survey, and then we spent all summer surveying you to see what your thoughts were. And we went online and we went out in person and did this. And so now I'm really pleased that Tracy's going to show us a sneak peek at the data and the results from what you've said. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Okay, guys, so there's a lot of data here, and if you can't read something, go ahead and ask me, but I ask for any larger questions, if we could wait till the end, just hang on to that, because then we'll never get out of here, and it really will be a night at the museum. And I love answering questions, but I want to keep us on track. So quick reminder here, we are a 5-star library. That ranking comes out of American Library Association?
It comes from the Library Journal, which was set up by Mr. Dewey Decimal himself back in the 1850s. They've been doing the star libraries for about 15, 16 years now. There are 85 5-star libraries of any size in the United States. Out of 9,000 libraries, there are only 85. Some states don't have any star libraries. Colorado's got 11 or 15 this year, I can't remember. There are 2 5-star libraries in Colorado. One's La Veta and the other one's Telluride.
Yeah. And I had nothing to do with that. I came on board. I want you all to know that the Institute of Museum and Library Services is a huge institution, and was the grant funder for this project, from materials to salary to you name it. So huge thanks to them. I did the 5 W's and the 1 H around like who did the survey, our staff in the community. And then I'm not going to read all these slides for you because that's just bad. But I'm going to point out some high-level things, and that is we had 2 surveys because we knew we had a really dedicated group of library patrons that we could send a longer survey to electronically on Facebook, on the weekly newsletter. And so they wouldn't mind, we thought, taking 10 minutes out of their day to fill out like 29 questions. And then we had a shorter one that was paper that we did in our outreach. And if you see the where here, where was our outreach? We went to Kuchera Mountain Park, all the way up to Levita Town Park, and how all these places right here, we went out and set up a booth at the farmer's market, at Dog Days of Kuchera, Art in the Park, Levita Pines yard sale. So we were just out talking about the library. We would often bring little signs that said like beyond books, this is all the other stuff, and you guys just saw that downstairs. So we did that from April through Labor Day. And we were able to get a total of 268 completed surveys, which I think is a big deal, and you'll see why in a second. So big picture data here. The library numbers 2021 came from Tony, and that is from our, is that Koha or LRS?
This was LRS.
Okay, so LRS is like the big database of all the libraries in Colorado, and all the libraries submit their data up. And so last year, total visits to this library was 27,000 plus, and total circulation of all the items, including the non-books you saw downstairs, was over 29,000. And so if you think about that 268 number, and we go to the US Census data from 2020, the total population of Levita is 862 according to the 2020 census. Now the library district is bigger than Levita because it includes Kuchera, parts of Huerfano County outside the town limits. So it's not necessarily a one-to-one correspondence there. You can see, according to the census, we've got 543 housing units in the town of Levita. The median age is 51.3. And I highlighted that 267 of the 862 people who live in the town of Levita are 65 years and older. And that's going to, we've got numbers that correlate with that a little later. For 862 people in the town of Levita, we have 1,892 patrons that are residents. Then additionally, we have another 1,600 that are non-residents. So these are your second homeowners, your visitors. Okay, when people are coming through town and they want to fill out, they want to get a library card here, we give them one and we mark it as visitor in the system. And they may never come back, but because they're just passing through once. And so our total patrons is 3,555. So we're going to hit the survey now. So we asked everybody these questions. So the long survey, the short survey. You can see that almost 200 of the 268 people that filled the survey out live here full time. So that was fabulous, right? We definitely wanted to capture what our part-time folks, and I was a part-time folk, 2.5 years ago, and our visitors wanted out of the library, but it was really good to see such a robust number for the people that live here. Here's, when I initially talked to Tony about how long have you lived here, he told me, like, people have been moving in, and this is like during COVID, and he's like, we don't know what they want, we don't know what they read, and so, the survey made sense. And so you can see, if you add up the 3 columns on the left, the 17, the 22, the 48, you get to somewhere around 90. 90 people who filled this survey out have been here less than 2 years. And that also made me happy because while we definitely wanted to hear from the long timers, right, the 5 years plus, like, we see those people a lot. We wanted to know with this new crop of folks coming in, like, what do they want? And so that to me was a big W, big win. Gender, just so we all know. I don't know how I could have looked that census data up, but I didn't. Does this jive with the town of Levita?
It's a little out of whack with the census results.
Okay, it's not triple?
Yeah.
It's not 3 to 1? Okay. We asked people where they lived. You can see the half of the folks live in Levita, and then Cuchara was next at 49, rural Huerfano County at 25, Walsenburg at 20. Now, I didn't include, like, we had a lot of categories here. I didn't include I didn't include visitors, right? I tried to be real strategic about tonight's presentation. And then that's why I left off the 19 to 34 demographic on the next slide, because there were so few of them. And I thought it was more important to represent the bigger numbers. And so you can see right here that this is 55 and older. And so you can see that the median age of 53 and the amount of people over 65, like, that's where our population is skewing. All right, here's from the longer survey that our diehard library fans filled out electronically. We want to know their library habits. And you can see the big winner here under books general is going to be nonfiction, followed by general fiction. Yep, that was surprising to me as well. And you can see mystery right there in the middle. Again, I didn't include all the genres, just the ones that had some bigger numbers. Under film genres, you can see that documentary in the middle, in the brown there, has 53, and comedy is right behind it. And this is interesting to library folk because we just weeded the DVD section. And when you weed, you're like, if it hasn't been checked out in 2 years, we're gonna consider getting rid of it and make room for newer stuff because people aren't checking it out. It goes through a process. We don't just like toss it and be like, who's taking the trash out? But what was interesting about weeding the documentary section, and Ashley and I just had a field day one day, and I decimated that section. There were so many, I was like, no one checked that out. And, like Blackfish was a huge movie 9 years ago, but you've either seen it or you're not going to see it. And so that was very interesting to learn about how the life cycle of a documentary. It's our most popular category, and yet the stuff that we had on the shelves was not getting checked out in the same way that maybe comedies were. So we're ordering more. Where's Mitzi? Yep. Over to nonfiction books. You can see here the big winner is history. And this is a theme tonight, and you'll see that in a second. History is the big winner at 53. And then you can just take a look at some of the other, the big winners there, like biography, right behind it. Libraries are, all the research when I was in school was like, libraries are doing so much more tech now, and it's less about books. This library is about books. And the data bears that out, not just in the survey, but in the circulation numbers. So the primary use of the library, there it is, books in print. On the left-hand side in red, 64. And that's 64 out of 86 responses, right? That's not the whole 268. So books in print came up. And then this is something that those of us that work at the library see a lot, is the work meet is 25, printing and faxing 25. Like, we're kind of a lot of folks' office. Yep. The Wi-Fi 18. And this means community calendar. And some people just like to browse and read. We're glad to see that. Okay, so this is outside the survey. This came from our Koha, which is our database of all of our materials. And you can see our circulation last year, so from October to September, so the past year. Books is winning once again, and DVDs is right behind it. Okay, and if you sit at that checkout desk, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. We do a lot more than just circulate books and DVDs and telescopes and bikes and things like that. That first box of 1027 is any reference question or tech help. So in the past year, the library has fielded over 1,000 of those. Interlibrary loan and interlibrary borrow. So if we don't have it here, we'll try and get it for you. And so, yeah. Thanks for making this interactive, Luann. So the loan is like 881 going out, right? Tony, am I getting that nomenclature right? Okay. And then ILL borrow is like what we get from other libraries for our patrons. So you can see that our patrons, they need books, right? There it is, 2,500. There it is. Hours open, over 2,800 hours open. And we had 138 programs last year. And the number of program attendees, they're not unique, right, Tony? No, it could be repeat. Yeah, is over 2,100, almost 22. And some other circulation stats, the State Parks Pass, 50, that gets loaned out for a week. And so if you think about it, that means it's like loaned out most of the time. It's only 52 weeks in a year. And it's usually very popular, and we've got two. Books on CD, also, this is a book library, right? You can see that is, that's our biggest number in this category. Equipment would be all the stuff you saw downstairs, okay, out showing itself off as non-books. And then laptops, you can see 163. Okay, here's where we're like, what do you guys want? And I said that history was going to be important. And local history was the number one category of like programming. This is what people wanted. And here's what's super interesting. Local history, local culture, local art. And that's so not surprising about this community. There's so much talent here. And people just they want to learn about the history here. They want to experience people's art. They want to know more about the culture. So that was no surprise. You can see like over here is voting and election, and then we go teen programs. So I'm just trying to help you read the slide here. 3D printer, astronomy, children's programs, fire mitigation. There were more categories in this, but these were the big ones. We wanted to know, what do you guys see as an unmet need in the community? And this went out to all 268 folks. And guess what's number one? Affordable housing. None of this is a surprise, right? You read the paper. Affordable housing, good paying jobs, restaurants, and broadband, internet. I should have written like fiber optic, because we wrote this almost a year ago, and since then we had Jade, and since then the pandemic's kind of subsided, so it's, we did the best we could to capture what was important. Accessible healthcare at 102, economic development at 91. So none of these are a surprise, kind of bears out with the conversations that happen every day in this community. This was cool, learning about people's community involvement. This was asked of only the 86 in the electronic survey, but you can see that 54 of those 86 people have volunteered locally. Everybody's doing something. And you can also see that number 2 in this category is that 48 know a community leader. Okay, there's like 27 in here tonight. Attended a program in the last 6 months. We wanted to know that. So we just wanted to really capture and get some insight into people's community habits. Here's what's amazing, is that 20 people who filled that survey out are the officer of a local organization or club. That's like all of them.
I didn't know we had organizations.
Right? So we had a bunch of open-ended questions, and some people didn't bother filling it out because they're like, I don't know, and I'm like, leave it blank. But for those who did, we wanted to know, what do you wish the library would loan out? Obviously, books is here, and I left it here not because we don't loan out books, but because people mentioned that they wanted to be able to check out books longer, that they wanted some input into the kinds of books that we get. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but you check a book out for 3 weeks.
Yep, unless it's a new one.
Unless it's new, then it's 2, and then you get 2 renewals, except if it's a new book.
Yeah, we'll keep renewing.
So if you check out a book, it's 9 weeks, right?
Yeah, unless somebody else has requested it.
Of course, yep. But here's what's super cool. People want tools. They want to be able to check out tools from the library. Like my drill is, you got to plug it in. I would love a power drill. Tony, cordless. Christmas is coming up. So you'll also see a bunch of sporting vocabulary here. You can see sporting equipment. You can see sleds, pickleball, fishing rods, snowshoes, e-bikes. Again, bikes came up, and a lot of people know that we offer bikes, and they just took this opportunity to tell us with this question. I love that you guys have bikes. So that's really what that means. Toys, a printer, kayaks, newer releases. So this is really good information for collection development for us. Yeah. I wish the library would provide. So we didn't want to talk about circulation anymore. We want to talk about, people wanted more programming. Oh, I'm over time, but I'm close to the end. We get a lot of requests for quiet spaces to work. Zoom calls and just homework or whatever people got going on. So that came up a lot. Newer DVDs, quiet places to sit, some art materials. Luckily, we have an easel downstairs. And we're going to make this available to people, right, Ashley? In some form or another, maybe Facebook or the newsletter or both. Okay, great. Okay. One more question we asked was, what do you want to see at the seasonal Kuchera branch? And I can tell you from working there for 2 summers, the number one, there's 2 things people want. That 3rd bullet point down, info and maps about wild areas, parks, hiking trails. People would come to the Kuchera branch and say, where should we go? What should we do? And local plant, mushroom, and wildflower classes. That's what they want to see down there. They wanted the reading programs down there, probably similar to what's happening here in the summer, some bestsellers. I think we do a pretty good job, or not we, our collection person, like getting the newest books, and they sit on that top shelf. But if people are saying we want to see it there, maybe we got to do something about advertising. Tennis rackets, because it sits right next to the tennis courts there. And then I'm on the Kuchera Foundation. I did not write that. Create a welcome and history center with the Kuchera Foundation. So yeah, that's just some of this feedback we got about the Kuchera branch, which is only open in the summer. This is our last slide. I went and just found all the nice things that people had to say about us. And what I love about this is the we and the our. the feedback indicated that people thought the library was ours, belonged to the community, and that felt really awesome because I can tell you, having worked here for, just over a year or so, like it just feels like the staff is constantly listening to the community. We're taking feedback seriously, and people feel safe here. They feel welcome, and that's what I took away from here. People loved the Kuchara branch. They thought it was such a great addition in the summer. The staff is amazing here. I just joined, so I'm not taking credit for that. Friendly, helpful, like this just felt really good. And so that's what I have for our data. I have built a database, and I can answer all kinds of questions later. Where like, well, what do part-time residents want to watch? And I'm like, oh, I can get that for you. But that didn't make sense for tonight. I just wanted to go big. So I will take questions. Yes, Luana.
What happened to our book group? Our
Like a-
fun bag group,
Oh.
reading group. It's disappeared.
It did. It just kind of faded out a little bit, and it kind of faded away right before COVID actually, and then it hasn't picked up since. But
Yeah.
we would be happy to do that again if we had a group of 3 or 4 regulars. We would want to do that. We are absolutely. In fact, I still have a spot booked out in the calendar that says brown bag. So yes.
Okay, cool. Anyone else have a question? Yes.
Do you guys do the book library thing up in Gardner, or is that?
A bookmobile?
Yes.
You do.
Spanish Peace Library.
Yes,
And the
that
director of
is
Spanish Peace Library
Casey.
is right there.
We got a local celebrity here. So that's maybe who you want to talk to.
I want to make a comment.
Okay.
All the libraries in Colorado is very good.
I think so too. Yeah. Thank you. So I guess the last thing we want to do is encourage you to finish the food.
Get out of here.
And no. We gotta break down, so we're good. And then, actually, did you have the?
Right behind you.
Okay. So if you have any additional comments or questions for us, we're gonna have this box here. You can drop it in here. If you want us to get back to you, put your email or your phone number on there. We'd be happy to do that. But we really wanna, now that you've kind of seen like where we're at and what we've learned, like if you have ideas about where we should be going, let us know. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any information on currently planned programs in the near future, what they are or the names of them? Did you tell us that tonight?
It's still coming together. It's been a little bit harder this year, this fall, to make those programs come together. We've made a bunch of invitations to folks, but they haven't quite materialized yet in the quantities we want. So we are open to like almost any kind of program, and I'll let you imagine what we wouldn't be open to. But we're open to anything. So if you have an expertise or a hobby or something you're crazy about, or like an experience that you've walked the Camino, or you've I'm not leaning on you, Janine. No, but if there's anything like that you want to present, we are very open to that. Or if you know of someone else, or if you think let's get an author down here, let's get Craig Johnson down here. He's a Western author that everybody reads. Let's see what we can do. You can think big too. So yeah, absolutely, we're really open for programs, and I wish our calendar was a little bit more full. But it's been a little bit hard this year for some reason. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to just mention one that's going to be, it was going to be in December. I need to talk, where's Missy? We need to talk about January. But anyway, it's the 2 forgotten founders of Levita.
Okay. Oh, it's probably a good time to mention the trivia nights, Ashley.
Yes, so by many requests, we have paired up with the brewery, Mount Vernon right here, and we're going to start doing trivia nights. We're going to start with once a month and kind of see how it goes. The first one will be Friday, November 4th at 6 p.m. And the theme of that night is all things Colorado. There will be 5 rounds: Colorado sports, Colorado history, famous people from Colorado, Colorado geography, and then where from. Lots of fun.
Yeah. Anything else? I'll hang around. I know Tony's gonna hang around. Now he is. But thank you all for coming. Yeah, thank you.